Hello everyone and welcome back guys to a brand new video where today we're here back with round 12 of season 5 of the F1 2020 My Team Career Mode. Yes, we're here back ready for our home Grand Prix this season. If you missed out on the last video from the Austrian Grand Prix, I would definitely recommend going back and checking it out as well. But yeah, heading back though to Silverstone this weekend. More major upgrades coming from Mercedes. We've brought some ourselves as well. We've had a few new parts on the car. Obviously, they'll show up as we move into the weekend. But yeah, Mercedes have brought another huge host of upgrades to this weekend, which does mean overall you can see they've got a clear-cut margin at the top of the field here. So are we going to see, Mercedes resurgence? George Russell almost took the race victory last weekend out, so it's certainly not decided at the moment there. Mercedes are definitely coming back into the fray at the moment. But yeah, obviously, if, like I said, you missed out on last week's video, definitely recommend going back and checking out. There will be spoilers in 3, 2, 1 now. So, championship-wise, though, we still have got a clear-cut gap at the top of the field. They're 67 points ahead of our teammate Max Verstappen, who is in P2 there. The ever-consistent Pierre Gasly still in P3 there after 3 podiums in the last 4 Grand Prix as well there. Russell just 2 points behind him in 5th ahead of Esteban Ocon. Esteban Ocon's gone to Red Bull. There's been all kind of moves. I haven't even spotted that as we get into the mid-season break there. So, Hamilton's gone to Ferrari. Charles Leclerc obviously remains at Ferrari. Perez has gone... There's been a huge amount of swaps. How would I not notice this? We didn't get an email about it or anything. I'm adamant. We got no email about this. Right. Let's have a quick look then. Let's try and decipher this quickly. Who is now where, then, in terms of teams? So, driver market. No, that's probably not ideal. We'll go with that, then. So, we've obviously still got Max Verstappen. We've kept hold of him. Gasly remains at AlphaTauri. Russell remains at Mercedes. Esteban Ocon has gone to Red Bull. Stroll stays at Racing Point. Albon stays at Red Bull. Danny Kvyat stays at AlphaTauri. So, us and AlphaTauri completely the same. Bottas has stayed at Mercedes, so they're completely the same as well then. Perez has gone to Renault for some reason. Sainz has stayed at McLaren. Hamilton's now gone to Ferrari, of all places. Clearly, the first half of the season with Red Bull, he wasn't happy and neither were they. So he's now joined Charles Leclerc. Lando Norris has stayed put at McLaren. Guan Yu Zhou has been dropped by Ferrari. He's gone to Racing Point. Williams is still Latifi. I'm guessing there probably hasn't been any moves towards the rear of the field. Yeah, no other movers at the rear of the field there. So it's just been a direct swap then between a few drivers. So Guan Yu Zhou has gone to Racing Point to replace Perez, who's gone to Renault, to replace Ocon, who's gone to Red Bull, to replace Hamilton, who's then gone back to Ferrari. That's the first time we've had any mid-season driver transfers in the entirety of this career mode. In 5 seasons, we've never had a single mid-season driver transfer up to now. But that's made things interesting as we head to Silverstone. So here we are then, back at the home of Formula 1. It's time for the British Grand Prix weekend. Just like Austria last time around, it's actually been a mixed affair between dry and wet qualifying so far. We had another wet Q1, and we did just sneak through into Q2. Obviously, the Williams, the Haas, and the Alfa Romeo still a long way off the rest of the field at the moment. But yeah, heading out into Q2, though, not going to bother with a medium tyre run this weekend. Obviously, with the track getting dry, no one's really going to try and take the risk, I don't think, at this stage of the day. Obviously, Silverstone, a track as well, where the soft tyres you can generally take them quite far into a Grand Prix. So hopefully, yeah, if we can try and get one decent lap in, maybe we can sneak through into Q3. But again, we've got plenty of rubber if we need to use another set. Coming towards the end of our first run, this felt like a pretty decent, tidy lap as we head down in towards the final couple of corners. Times are quite spread out by a lot of runners still at the moment, as it was, I think, a little bit damp on track at the start of Q2, but we set a 1:22.1 fastest lap so at the end of the first runs there. Very happy with that one, but we might just need to go out again. Well, there we are then, Q2 done and dusted for the British Grand Prix there, and it is our teammate Max Verstappen who falls out of qualifying there. Perez, somehow 5th place in that Renault car. No idea how he's managed that at the end of the session there, but Lance Stroll, fastest man at the end of Q2, ready for the British Grand Prix. And I must admit, you know, we've been worried about the upgrades Mercedes have brought to their cars. Racing Point have still got a very, very quick car underneath them as well there. The same can't be said for Guan Yu Zhou. 1.2 off a Lance Stroll at the end of qualifying there. But yeah, quite a surprising qualifying session when all is said and done there. Raikkonen, not a big shock. Actually, to be fair, P11 is pretty good going for Kimi Raikkonen. He's normally 16th place at the end of the sessions there. Ocon in his first weekend for Red Bull, out in Q2. Guan Yu Zhou in his first weekend out for Ferrari, for Racing Point even, out in Q2. Hamilton, though, gets P7 at the end of the session there, so a very good lap by him. Any other big names? Perez as well. Obviously, 5th place for Renault, though. That's a fantastic job done by the Mexican. But yeah, let's dive into Q3 then. We really have seen a huge dip in form from Max Verstappen's qualifying times since, what, about round 7 of the World Championship there. I think that is the first time he's not made it into Q3 this season. Obviously, we missed out a couple of times early on, but as we've got quicker and more used to this car, Verstappen seems to have gone the other way in recent weeks, and as our main championship challenger, things looking rather good for ourselves as we enter Q3 for the British Grand Prix. Although saying that, Max Verstappen last time out, not last time, time before at France, ended up at the back by the end of lap 1 and still was able to come through for the race victory. So yeah, this weekend certainly isn't done and dusted, as we haven't even made it to Sunday just yet, but hopefully we can get a good time on the board. We should be looking down into the 121s. Heading out onto the truly iconic hangar straight towards the end of our lap. It's felt like a fairly tidy one so far, but we just need to keep it pinned in towards the final few corners of this run. Make sure we try and get at least close to the 121s, or at least a decent banker that we can go against our relative in our second run of the session. They're a little bit wide through the final chicane, down towards the line. It's going to be a 121.7, a 10th off George Russell there, but that was a lot better than I thought it would be. Last chance to try and get a good lap in then at the end of qualifying for our home race. We've got a lot of drivers that want to get their cars onto the front of the grid. Quite a few people with a good chance to do so as well, but we are going to be the last car, I think, onto our final run of the session here. George Russell still currently fastest by a 10.5 over myself, but if we can keep it pinned clean and tidy around this circuit, hopefully we can try and just get that a little bit closer to him. Heading through the first couple of corners, try and just ease on the power out of the loop. Short shifting all the way into 4th gear on the exit there, and you can see we're about half 10th up as we head out of Q1 there, so at Sector 1 even I should say, so a good little time find there. Take a lot of curve as you head down in through Sector 2, and then nice and tidy as we head through the hairpin. A little bit wide on the exits, cost us a huge amount of time actually, saying that one out into the red, so we're really going to try and find some time on the second half of this lap. Down through Old Turn 1, completely pinned right the way through there. Russell at 120.8. How has George Russell found like another 8 tenths at the end of qualifying here for the British Grand Prix? We've got to keep pushing to try and stay close to him there. Bottas has gone faster than ourselves as well, up into P2, so maybe, just maybe, we can get the car on the front row of the grid, but have Mercedes taken off the sandbags right at the end of qualifying. Again, they're horribly wide as we head down in towards the final couple of corners. Just goes to show how much time we're trying to find as we head through the final couple of turns. At the final corner, though, down towards the line, it's going to be a 2/10 improvement, but I think it's only P3.
And with qualifying complete, let's review our top 3 today. Russell, Bottas, and Mr. Monaco. Goodbye for now then, but we're really just getting started. Make sure to join us again for Lights Out tomorrow.
Mercedes this weekend are well and truly on another level there. How on earth George Russell's run a 120.8 around the British Grand Prix circuit is absolutely mental there. But yeah, George Russell, another Brit on pole position here for our home Grand Prix. Bottas gets P2 on the grid there, only 2/10 off his teammate. We were in P3, had Pierre Gasly and Danny Kvyat there for AlphaTauri 4th and 5th. Stroll didn't quite have the same pace at the end of qualifying there, down in 6th. Actually, he did, to be fair, but everyone else got a whole lot quicker as well. Albon in 7th, ahead of Perez, Lando Norris and Hamilton rounding out your top 10 there. So 4 Brits inside the top 10. Surely one of us can walk away with the race victory.
Great Britain then, one of only 2 countries to have held a Grand Prix in every single year of the Formula 1 World Championship. And the circuit extends that record further for today's Grand Prix. The 3.6 miles of the Silverstone circuit in Great Britain is hallowed ground to the Formula One faithful. We have 18 corners that wrap around this former World War II airbase and some good passing opportunities at the end of the DRS zones. Anthony Davidson is alongside me as usual for the race today. Let's talk about Mr. Monaco. They come into this race with a healthy championship lead. I don't want to say the title race is over, but surely it's going to take something special or catastrophic to change the outcome at this point.
Let's not get too ahead of ourselves, Crofty. Yes, it looks like a big lead, but all it takes is a locked brake into turn 1, a sticky wheel nut in the pit stop, and that could all get turned on its head. You can never discount one more sting in the tail.
Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. George Russell will begin today's event from pole position, and it's Valtteri Bottas that completes the front row. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Mr. Monaco, Gasly, Daniel Kvyat, and Stroll, Albon, Perez, Norris, and Lewis Hamilton, Raikkonen, Verstappen, Esteban Ocon, and Sainz, Joe, Leclerc, Nobuharu Matsushita, and Nicholas Latifi, Magnussen, Giovinazzi, King, and Nick de Vries. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today?
Okay, I know it's your home Grand Prix, but treat it like any other race. Don't take unnecessary risks.
Well, here we are then, ready on the grid for the British Grand Prix, and Mercedes, yeah, we've said it before, but they are definitely not giving up on this title fight just yet. Interesting there, obviously, Crofty and Anthony Davidson talking about our championship lead as we head into this weekend. I certainly don't feel like it's over just yet, but I'd argue, yeah, the first half of the season was maybe the most consistent we've been, considering, obviously, you look at Season 3 and you look at all the podiums and everything like that. We haven't had a car anywhere near that OP this year. And to consider the fact, obviously, we've still been incredibly consistent, just one race, that we've missed out on a podium so far. We have been, yeah, pretty good, if I do say so myself. But things can always change very, very quickly in the world of Formula 1, and we are definitely not going to get complacent just yet, with still another 10 races to go, including this one here today. But let's dive in then, ready to the British Grand Prix. 26 laps ahead of us, George Russell on pole, Bottas just in front of us as well, Gasly and Kvyat right behind, 5 red lights, and it's no wait at all, and it is a lights out, and away we go. Trying to put the power down as we head down in towards turn 1, as Bottas actually sweeps into the lead of the Grand Prix, so clearly the inside of the circuit there, having quite a lot of grip on it, as Gasly tried to get past ourselves, so I think Stroll has a move past Danny Kvyat there, so the inside line, yeah, really working out off the start of the Grand Prix there, as we try to head out onto the Wellington Straight for the first time. Gasly still trying to apply the pressure, but force him a bit defensive in towards the next corner. We should be able to maintain the momentum right around the outside, running horribly wide though, as Mercedes try and duke it out at the front there and try and build a gap early on in this Grand Prix. But as we head out onto the old start-finish straight, it is Bottas up into the lead of the Grand Prix. Russell P2, myself still in P3, ahead of Pierre Gasly. There is a big old lift through the old turn one, and we're still running a little bit wide on the exit of the corner there. But yeah, if we want to stay in contention in this race, I think we've really got to hope that the Mercedes battle it out a lot early on, because those guys, yeah, as you can just see, as we head out onto the hangar straight there, 1.8 clear for Valtteri Bottas at the moment, but George Russell is sticking to him as they head down in towards the final couple of turns. We have survived the opening lap though of the British Grand Prix. Are we going to be trying to battle the Mercs for the win, or are we going to be battling the racing points and AlphaTauri for the podium? As we head towards the end of lap 2 though, I'm already worried. As you can see, Bottas, new fast lap of the Grand Prix. We lose another half a second to the Mercedes. Now, pretty much always in this career mode, with just how good the engine is, we underfuel the car massively at the start of the Grand Prix, because despite the fact we're running rich revs a lot, normally we can make up all that fuel. Now, the last couple of weekends it has been a little bit closer as we try to defend from the Mercedes, but I'm a bit worried here at Silverstone. Perhaps going this aggressive under fuel might actually hamper us more than it's worth having a light car, because we're trying to use rich revs down a lot of straights to defend from the guys behind. I think the likes of Gasly and Stroll behind us can sense we're quite vulnerable this weekend. We've had a couple of upgrades onto the car, like I said, but a couple of them haven't got in time, so we might need a bit of a refresh over the summer break with some upgrades after the Hungarian Grand Prix next weekend. So So we have got to be a bit careful at the moment. I mean, R&D points aren't too difficult to come by. About 57,000 now we've got to our disposal. As that's not the run we needed through the old Turn 1. That's going to be a fair warning as we head through lap 4. But yeah, just really got nothing against Mercedes early on this race. 4 seconds now the gap to Bottas at the front of the field. As we get a horrible run out onto the back straight. And that's going to allow Gasly to fly past us. Maybe Stroll as well is going to have a look up the inside in towards the next corner, and yes he does, and we've got nothing we can do to defend this. We need more upgrades. So the team reckon we can go a bit longer then on these soft tyres than they had originally anticipated, as that's not the line through turn 3. But yeah, it can't even really feel like we're applying the pressure to Stroll and Gasly at the moment. We're really going to have to hope either the mediums work out a whole lot better for us so we can work out what we're doing wrong in this car early on. Verstappen hasn't made any sort of progress as well, I must add, on the minimap. I wondered if he hadn't been able to get a good qualifying lap in, but so far his pace in the race seems to be not a whole lot better, as it is quite difficult to overtake around this circuit on the F1 games, just due to the nature of the ERS and things like that. But yeah, just really feel like we're just not doing anything at the moment. Still really trying to look at the positives at this stage of the Grand Prix, and we are just about keeping up with Stroll and Pierre Gasly as we reach 1/3 race distance here around Silverstone. I think, yeah, Stroll actually lost the DRS to Gasly for a couple of laps, so we were able to close in on him a bit, and then I think Gasly made a small mistake, allowed Stroll back in, and I was still just all hovering about between 6 and 8 tenths away from each other in this huge train at the moment. That actually, yeah, it does have quite a few different cars and teams in it. That's horribly wide again. That's going to be our second warning, so we have got to be careful about that. We've got both AlphaTauris, the Racing Point of Stroll, the 212 Motorsport car of ourselves, the Renault of Sergio Perez, the McLaren, I think, of Lando Norris, and then, of course, the Red Bull of Alexander Albon as well. And now one more small mistake as we head out of the loop has meant we've lost the DRS now to Lance Stroll. So we might be a bit vulnerable from Danny Kvyat behind us here as we head down in towards Sector 3. Not this time round, the AlphaTauri driver not quite able to get close enough. We need to desperately get back within that 1 second of the Racing Point ahead of us. One of the Mercs then is the first car into the pit lane, as actually Gasly and Stroll are both going to follow him in, as well as Albon, I think that was just behind us. So now we've got to really try and push over these next couple of laps, see if we can try and get back ahead of those two drivers there, obviously if they get stuck in a bit of traffic. And yeah, Russell now, well, I mean, I think he was already in the lead of the Grand Prix, 11 seconds up the road after 11 laps here around Silverstone. That is absolutely insane, the way the Mercedes have been able to romp away early on here. I think they sort of carried each other along a bit with the DRS for a few laps, but yeah, just second to none the pace of that car here. As now I said about him, we need to try and push forward. We do not need this. As Danny Kvyat tries to have a look up the inside, we do hook it up right around the outside though, in towards the next corner. We do not want to be stuck behind the AlphaTauri car for any point in this Grand Prix there. So I think it actually might have been Raikkonen who was part of that battle pack now. I think he's, yeah, too far back to have been in our little group. George Russell into the pit lane at the end of lap 11 then, so we're going to go 1 lap longer in this Grand Prix. Are we going to see Kvyat in? Yes, we are. The pace hasn't felt too bad on these tyres, and obviously all those guys are probably going to have to be dealing with slower traffic as well at the moment, so we may as well try and stay out there whilst the tyres still feel good. We are going to pit though at the end of this one as Max Verstappen is into the pit lane from a long way behind us. But yeah, we do take the lead then of the Grand Prix, albeit only for a brief moment. Heading down in towards the final sector then of lap 12. This in lap's not felt too shabby as we head down the end of the Hangar Straight. I mean, Russell has still been taking time out of us, but we have been put away from Magnussen and Jordan King. We got away with that? It's at 38, but okay. I mean, we'll take it. I don't think we could have nailed the pit entry any more than we did then, if it's given us that. But I'm looking at the minimap though, it looks like, I think actually Pierre Gasly, sorry, I should say, hasn't really been held up by the guys in front of him, as they're all going to dive into the pits. 2 second stop though is exactly what we needed. But where are we going to come out relative to this group? Has Gasly and Stroll sort of held each other up a bit? Gasly's actually on hards, so that might give us an opportunity later on in the race to come back at him. But there they go. through turn 1, and we've actually lost the spot to Alexander Albon throughout all of that, but all three of them a whole lot more bunched up. Come on. Go in a straight line, car, thank you. So, yeah, not quite what we needed, but we haven't lost out as much as I thought we might have. I think the other important thing at the moment is to make sure that if we're trying to go for moves on any of these guys, that we don't lose any time. Because it could very much be we could try and go for a move on Albon, lose the DRS to Stroll and Gasly in front of him, and never get it back in the latter stages of this Grand Prix. That's a bit ragged on the exit onto the hangar straight. That just goes to show how much we're pushing at the moment here, as I think Stroll might be trying to look for a move on Gasly. He's practically pushing him down in towards the final few corners of the lap there, but can't quite make anything work just yet. Can we get a good run then on Alexander Albon as we head down the back straightaway? I don't think... yeah, no, we're not quite close enough at the moment. Normally, I noticed earlier on in the race, the best time we were able to get runs on people was actually down the hangar straight. Not that one. As Albon really kicks out the back end though on the exit as we head out onto the old start-finish straight. Could we potentially have a look for a move down in towards the old turn 1? We'll back out of that, but we will try and stay close to him as we head now through Maggott and Beckett's here, and hopefully try and open up an opportunity as we head onto the hangar straight. Like I said, nice and tidy on the way in. Get a big run on the way out. All over the grass once again though, and I think we've cost ourselves another good run on Alexander Albon here. We are closing in 220 miles an hour as we head down the end of the hangar straight there. That's Monza S-top speeds here at Silverstone, but not quite close enough to go for anything just yet. All over the back of him as we head in towards the final couple of turns though. I think if anything what we need at the moment is Stroll to actually get a big run on Gasly, and as soon as I say that, Stroll pulls that at the slipstream to try and make a move work on Pierre Gasly here. This could bunch us all up as we head in towards the final few corners there, but I think Stroll might have just pulled off the move. Albon way earlier than I was expecting on the brakes there, and somehow we don't make contact with the Thai driver there. Somehow we get away with that, as all the back end still trying to break away. That surely is not a penalty. We were trying to catch a slide at the final corner there, but the FIA have had their say, and they believe that is a 3-second time penalty as we head in towards the final few laps of the British Grand Prix here. It's honestly feeling like a league race at the moment with just how close everyone is at this stage of the day. But now we've watched Stroll get past Gasly. Hopefully we can do the same, but we might need to wait for Albon to try and pull it off first. Obviously Gasly's now going to have some DRS on Stroll in front of him, but we've got a big run on Alexander Albon now, up the inside, in towards the end of the hangar straight there. Very, very aggressive on the brakes, but we do pull off the move. And we're now up into P5 of this race. Obviously we're on slightly fresher rubber than the rest of these guys, so we take way too much curb in towards the final chicane. But yeah, we are pushing still like absolute crazy. Can we now try and get a move on Gasly on his harder rubber? Hard's never a particularly great tyre around this British Grand Prix circuit, and hopefully we're about to show you guys why as we head through the loop. Running a little bit wide there, and I haven't quite given the best example of that, but yeah, hopefully we can try and get a run on Gasly sooner rather than later. Just over 7 laps to go though from Silverstone. I'm a bit worried at the moment that Gasly won't get sort of run on Stroll that we need him to. So we're really trying to allow ourselves a move to get past the pair of them here, as we're just trying to apply the pressure, but obviously Gasly's getting the DRS from Stroll and able to stick close to him, but we just can't seem to get the sort of run on the pair of them that we really need as we head out of the final corner. Let's see if we can do anything down in towards the loop. We'll try and use a bit more ERS. As well, look at that. Gasly struggling a bit through the first couple of turns. We do have a look up the inside. Can we try and make the move work as we head in towards the next couple of corners there? Gasly holds the nose on the inside. We'll try and use the curbing around the outside of him. We don't quite get a run. Oh, Gasly! What was that from Pierre Gasly? Don't get hit, don't get hit, don't get hit. As that is basically game over in this British Grand Prix for us. Out of the points as Gasly got all kinds of wrong in towards turn 3, turn 4, turn 5 even, and just completely broke chuck us on the straight. And that is practically game over for us in this British Grand Prix. It had been going so well up to that point, We're going to have to pit onto a fresh set of softs, so we haven't got any front wing at the moment. We've still got half a front wing. Lando Norris is out. And we've got a safety car out of nowhere. So maybe this race isn't completely over for us. But we're going to have to really work hard to try and slice our way back through. It's become then, on the end of lap 20, it's kind of, well, I mean, it can't get any worse for us with a safety car. So we will take it rather happily, but I think we're basically, yeah, going to be right at the rear of the field here as we've got the Williams, the Haas, the Alphas still crawling around at Sector 2 there. Because just how far behind the rest of the field those guys are at the moment. But if anything, this has made it a little bit more vulnerable for Mercedes. Maybe Stroll has got some good pace at the end of this one. But you're not happy with Pierre Gasly there. We completely get the fact he was a bit offline into the corner, but he was completely brake checking us, I felt like, out onto the out onto the Wellington straight there, when we definitely could have maintained a whole lot more momentum than the AlphaTauri man there. And yeah, we are going to be back out at the rear of the field, so we're going to have to try and carve our way back through the pack. But surely, yeah, with a 3-second penalty as well, points from here is going to be impossible. And by the time we've caught up to the rear of the field, then it is going to be green flag racing once more here from the British Grand Prix. I think if we could get close to the points again on our much fresher, quicker rubber, I would probably be quite happy with that. But yeah, with the 3-second penalty, scoring points is basically going to be impossible here. So we may as well try and have a bit of fun with it in the final laps of the British Grand Prix. Green flags once more from Silverstone, as it has been a torrid weekend by the end of it for 212 Motorsport. I'm trying to remember the last time we got neither car into the points. It genuinely must have been Season 1 or Season 2. I don't think it's happened again since then, as we look up the inside straight away on Nick De Vries and Latifi. Tries to turn under me, but we were already there.
There's 4 laps of fuel remaining.
Hang a straight, surely, yeah, even without the DRS, we're going to be able to get a good run on Jordan King and K-Mag here. And yeah, it's like racing, just a slower class of car at the moment there. Up the inside of our former teammate we go. We should get a good run on the exits. Magnussen, for whatever reason, is going defensive.
We need to look after the tyres. We won't
Not
be
too
making
sure why the
another
team are warning us about the tyres, but we've made another move. Next up, Matsushita and Giovinazzi. I mean, the fresher, quicker rubber helps as well, but the pace advantage we've got over the Alfa Romeos and the Williams is, yeah, just laughable at the moment. Remember the good old days when we had to battle these guys for any sort of slim chance at points early on in Season 1. A very, very long time ago now, as we get a good run on Matsushita. Not quite able to make the move work, though, on the Alfa Romeo man. Can we get a good run out onto the hangar straight once more, though? Giovinazzi hasn't got a particularly good run in front of him either, so we should hopefully be able to get past Matsushita at the very least. Maybe the Williams as well. I'll use a little bit more of our ERS, and yeah, another cheeky double overtake has been established. A long gap, though, up to P14 of Charles Leclerc, who has not had a good weekend for Ferrari. Heading round the final lap, though, of the British Grand Prix, we're not even going to be able to close up the gap enough to Charles Leclerc here. Obviously, I think these guys have been dragged along a bit with DRS as well, but we have romped away, luckily, from Giovinazzi and Matsushita there just behind us, so at least despite the penalty, we're still going to be able to finish ahead of those guys. But yeah, a torrid weekend. I really felt like we were going to be able to drag something out of the car. If you look at where Verstappen still sat at the moment down in P12, really just go to show how much we were overdriving the car at the start of the Grand Prix. But I think it is going to be George Russell who wins the British Grand Prix. They're a 22.3 fastest lap to finish off as well. A dominant display by Mercedes, a very clear message from them. As like I said, I think arguably the worst ever result for us as a team, but we move on.
Alright, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
Well, they've done a brilliant job, I must say, under some intense pressure to take a well-earned victory here at the British Grand Prix. Tell me, Ant, how do you think they were able to deliver such an incredible result today?
Well, the safety car completely changed the race, didn't it? It's hard to say exactly what would have happened without it, but there's no question that they came out of that situation in a good position.
And I can see the drivers starting to approach the podium for the victory celebrations. A real team victory today. Everybody played their part. Congratulations then to Mercedes, your race winners today. And after this round of the World Championship, here's how things look in the drivers' table. Mr. Monaco increases their championship lead. Some amazing talent out on the track today. But Anthony, who would you pick as your driver of the day?
Guan Yu Zhou gets my vote today.
Let's move on to the constructors. The lead at the top comes down after a strong weekend from the challenging pack. There was also a strong showing from the Mercedes team today as they make their way up the standings. After an event like that, who knows what the sport has in store for us next time? Be sure to join us again as we continue to bring you the latest excitement in Formula One.
Well, there we are then, guys. The end of the British Grand Prix. And George Russell, pole position, fastest lap, race victory, 26 points on the board. Pretty simple for the Englishman there as he takes home a British race victory there. Not too sure if it's his first here at Silverstone or whether he won back in Season 3 as well there. But Bottas' teammate comes through for P2. Mercedes, yeah, in a league of their own this weekend there. Gasly in P3. Another solid weekend for him and AlphaTauri there. I thought Stroll would be able to hang on in the end, but apparently not in 4th place there. Albon in 5th ahead of Kvyat. Perez and Raikkonen actually doing a brilliant job for Renault. Perhaps they are still good around this circuit at the moment there. With Guan Yu Zhou in 9th place there, picking up driver of the day from 15th on the grid. And Hamilton does come through to pick up a point on his Ferrari debut, but surely, yeah, the situation not much better than he was with in Red Bull there. Ocon just missing out on points in his first day at Red Bull. Max Verstappen in 12th there, and you can see the rest of your finishers. Us down in P15 at the end of the day. A torrid weekend, yeah, certainly one to forget. Like I said, it must have been Season 2, maybe even Season 1, the last time we didn't score any points in a Grand Prix weekend there. Just an absolute nightmare for the team. But that means championship-wise, so obviously Verstappen doesn't take any points out of us. The gap at the top still 67 as we head to the Hungaroring next weekend there. Russell, though, only 10 points now behind Max Verstappen. Gasly only a further 7 behind him as Bottas and Ocon now tied in 5th and 6th place there. Stroll only 2 points back in 7th, 3 ahead of Albon there. So there's a big battle going on for P5 overall there. Danny Kvyat in 9th place, just a little further back there. Perez still in 10th. Hamilton does get the jump on Carlos Sainz in 11th and 12th. And then further down the order as well, you can see swap between Raikkonen and Nicholas Latifi there. As yeah, Raikkonen actually getting his first points on the board. Completely forgot about that as well at the end of the day there. But constructors-wise, Mercedes jump AlphaTauri. I think that's probably going to stay like that unless we see some big upgrades from AlphaTauri. Racing Point get the jump on Red Bull, and then Renault get the jump on McLaren, as Ferrari still last of the non-backmarker cars at the moment. But thank you all so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy, do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed as well, and yeah, we will definitely be back very, very soon with round 13 even, I should say, of the season, where we head back to the Hungaroring. Not my favourite track, but a track that has often been kind to us on F1 2020. You guys do not want to miss it. A big thank you to our channel members for making these videos possible. You can be featured in these end clips as well as granted access to some other exclusive perks for just £1 a month by clicking the join button below.